Hello, everybody. Welcome to Purposive Communication. I am Assistant Professor Louis Giray from the Department of Liberal Arts, School of Foundational Studies and Education, Mapua University. And for today's discussion, we're going to talk about some core concepts related to making the workplace smooth. So we're going to talk about diversity and inclusion and other related matters. Therefore, please stay tuned as we navigate this topic. First up is this concept. No people are the same, even if they're twins. Just like fingerprints, we're unique individuals. In the workplace, you'll see different languages, customs, religions, communication styles, and values. And that is being diverse. Let me just read what is there in our PowerPoint. Cultural diversity refers to the existence of a variety of cultural or ethnic groups within a workplace. It includes differences in language, customs, religion, communication styles, and values, those things that I mentioned. They are important because with all these differences, they influence how we work, how we solve problems, and how we connect with each other as individuals and professionals. The differences may vary. It can range it can range, but not limited to the following: race, gender, age, culture or religion, languages, abilities, beliefs, and ideas. However, in a workplace, it's not enough that we have diversity alone. Let me just read this quote coming from Verna Myers. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Yes, you're being invited, but it should not stop there. There should be participation involved also. Uh, Diversity simply means having different kinds of people together. It's not enough. You've got rainbows of varied differences, hiring people from different backgrounds. It may be the start, but the real value comes from inclusion. When we say inclusion, coming from the term itself, include, you make everybody, regardless of differences, feel welcome. You make them feel heard and valued. No discrimination, no bias, no preference of a certain group. That's inclusion. Let me just add, this reminds me about the concept of this Harvard Business School professor, Amy Edmondson, called psychological safety. If you're there in that certain group, work, or organization, feel safe, not being judged, it's one of the key qualities of a successful work. We must understand that we can't leave inclusion to chance. having people taking initiative, or maybe them doing the inclusive practices on their own, it's not enough. There should be a policy. The organization leaders, the administrators should make that as a culture. They, being leaders, they are the ones who spearhead and help shape the culture. So in the same manner, the diversity and inclusion should be put into paper. There should be a specific and concrete rule on that. One of which is the concept called multiculturalism. This refers to a society or program that recognizes and values the diverse cultures, ethnicities, and identities present within. From that mandate, we can say that it leads people to peaceful coexistence, and it's going to be harmonious. We get to ensure that despite the different backgrounds, that it's going to be a place where everybody is included. In fact, that is cogently put forward by Stephen Covey, in which he said, strength lies in differences, not in similarities. A group with diverse backgrounds, let's just call it a multicultural team, when they have their different viewpoints, they get to see various angles, and they have various takes, various styles, various innovations. And research after research shows that these multicultural teams can outperform the homogeneous ones, the ones that are very and solidly, into one single background. So long as there's a caveat, it's managed well. Why? Why is that? Because they get to, when various people from various backgrounds connect, collaborate with one another, they get to see multiple angles, multiple solutions, multiple views, and that there is this tendency that they get to see more beyond the homogeneous teams. Now, let's talk about the 3 key steps to embrace cultural diversity at work. One is you need to be culturally aware. From that, we mean you can't respect what you don't recognize. Therefore, it starts with recognition. Okay, you need to recognize your own lens, okay, culturally, socially, personally, all those things that you learned, maybe your programming, okay, maybe they are correct, maybe they're not, maybe they learn coming from elders. You need to recognize all those stuff. And then of others as well. From there, you get to understand. And also, when you see another person doing something different from what you're doing, don't be judgmental. Just be curious. Do not say any label. No. For example, you may think that when you give direct feedback shows professionalism, but what if it's in the country like Japan or Nigeria, where if you do that, it's disrespectful. Very important that there is awareness, there is recognition about these differences. And from there, you can get to reflect about your actions, what you're going to undertake, what your own cultural biases, your communication styles. And instead, what you need to do is to have some respectful questions and maybe respectful listening as well. Okay, and that they're willing to share their own experiences, that you're willing to be uh, open-minded individual, flexible enough to adapt. And we've got this. Practice cultural sensitivity. Different doesn't mean wrong. This is a common misconception among individuals. Sometimes we're used to what we're doing because we're surrounded by like-minded individuals, but if you get to see another one doing it in a different route, well, you might hastily say that it's wrong. that's that's not good. We need to respect first and foremost the different traditions, communication styles, and behaviors that they've got. This is what we call cultural sensitivity. You're not being indifferent or nonchalant in the differences. Here you get to act on your own awareness with respect and empathy. Because it's not enough that it's just in our mind. We need to make them feel it. An adjustment can be of help, not only to you, but also to them and to your entire group. Lastly, is this to take decisive and inclusive action. Inclusion turns diversity into strength. Now, we must create a space for all voices, adapt policies, and celebrate the differences openly. Well, many would just say that they are inclusive. Maybe some of them are uh, more into words but not into action. That's not a an excellent way to achieve inclusion. Therefore, no, very important that we we act on it. Some of you may heard somebody saying, we don't see color or culture here. Well, that's not a good way to put forward inclusivity because it's more on being indifferent, not caring. We focus on understanding and celebrating the differences, the diversity, and we intentionally create this is space. We may want to have some trainings along the way, some cultural events, putting the calendar and on the calendars their different celebrations, because it doesn't happen in accident. It should be intentional, and it's not just one time, big time. It must be an ongoing action, and so that it would emanate and become very pervasive to the community you're in. Now, we've got some challenging situations and how companies responded. One is this, the, the situation of Starbucks. Two black men were arrested in a Philadelphia Starbucks while waiting for a friend, even though they hadn't done anything wrong. The incident sparked public outrage. and raised concerns about racial bias and inclusion. That must be very racist. Well, what did Starbucks do? They closed over 8,000 stores for a full day just to conduct a racial bias training to more than, or I should say, almost 200,000 employees. This is a good action. No, they launched new policies so that it wouldn't be repeated again, and then they emphasize the the value of inclusivity not only in their group but also to customer service. Mm. So it's an investment that they did. Plus, they were able to put forward some programs related to diversity and inclusion. Starbucks here learned that company values must be reinforced daily and not just, on the time of the emergencies, but it was a wake-up call for them. Next is this, the H&M story. H&M released an ad featuring a black child wearing a hoodie that said coolest monkey in the jungle. The ad received widespread backlash for being racially insensitive. It was indeed insensitive. So what did H&M do? Well, they issued a public apology. It should be immediate. They hired also a diversity and inclusion global leader to guide not just the current situation, but also future campaigns. And then they created some systems in order to review what they are releasing as marketing concept to the public, and so that they won't repeat the same cultural missteps. You see, it should be a collaboration not only of some employees, but of the creative teams, the marketing, the communication, HR, the leaders, all together. And so you could achieve diversity and inclusion. Next is this, Uber, Toxic Workplace Culture. A blog post by former engineer Susan Fowler exposed Uber's discriminatory and sexist culture. It revealed how women and minorities felt excluded, unheard, and unsafe. After that terrible situation, Uber conducted an internal investigation. It all should start with that. And they decisively fired more than 20 employees over HR related issues. It should happen because you don't want to infect fresh tomatoes from the bad ones. Next is they hired as well a chief diversity officer. What's the reason? Revamp the leadership and also the the policies so that it won't breed toxicity, that it would be safe and respectful at the same time. Now we're done with the negative stories. Okay, now we'll have the success stories. Google is known for this global culture of belonging. It runs employee resource groups. They've got diverse individuals from Latinx, Black, Asian, LGBTQ+, veterans, and more. They offer cultural intelligence training globally and publishes diversity annual report with clear goals and accountability. Yes, it has been proven that it propelled Google to a stronger global team culture with all those mechanisms. Nexus, Accenture implemented a 360-degree inclusive leadership model across all levels, set public goals to achieve gender parity by 2025, and conducted cross-cultural training in over 120 countries. Currently, Accenture is one of the most diverse workforces because they are setting clear goals that and then very important to note as well that they are really achieving the gender parity because at the moment they already have women making up almost half of their workforce, 50% of the workforce. So good job to Accenture. Lastly is this Microsoft, the empathy driven inclusion. They created an inclusive design philosophy for all products, which considers accessibility and global user needs, trains managers on inclusive language and bias awareness, supports a wide network of employee communities that influence company strategy. These are very straight to the point strategies, and that they are designing it, not leading it to chance. Well, we can say that inclusion is advantageous not only to the organization itself, but also to the products they put forward to the world, because they're really receiving positive global reach because of what they're doing. Now, to conclude, I want you to understand these two big concepts, diversity and conclusion. And I'd analogize that to having, instruments and orchestra. Diversity um, as diversity is something uh, that you'll see on a space with different instruments. Now you'll see guitars and violins and drums and flutes, cellos, so on. They're all unique in sound. But inclusion, on the other hand, is when all of these instruments get to play, that nothing or some are ignored because the music won't be right. Remember, inclusion means giving every instrument there, because they have wonderful things to contribute, a chance to be heard and to be played together. That's it in the meantime. Diversity and inclusion for the win.